In Africa today, something big is changing. The world wants us to believe that democracy is the only way.
Are pretty straightforward. The main way that democracies now fail in most countries nowadays is not because of a coup d'etat or tanks in the street and a colonel shooting up the chandelier in the president's office. Mainly they fail because an elected leader or an elected political party take power and then set out to capture the state. That means take all of these neutral institutions that are supposed to be bipartisan or nonpartisan and politicize them. And so that would be regulatory agencies, that would be, in some cases, court, it would be inspectors generals, sometimes the media. When you're elected to a political office in a democracy, what you're meant to do is you're supposed to win the job, but then preserve all of these institutions to run the state and to run them neutrally so that there can be a fair election 4 years later. There's always been a temptation to try to use the state and the resources of the state to back your own party. Watch regulatory agencies, watch the civil service, watch the media, watch, judges eventually. Taking over those things can give a political power or leader so much power that he's then able to influence or change the next election.
What kind of democracy keeps a 92-year-old man in power for over 40 years while young people struggle to eat? From Cameroon to Côte d'Ivoire, democracy has become a game for the powerful. But in Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger, new voices are rising with uniforms, not ballot boxes. Just this week, Nigeria invited Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, the three military-led countries that left ECOWAS, to attend the 2025 West Africa Economic Summit in Abuja. This is not a mistake. It's a signal. Africa is tired of empty democracy and ready for results. These countries are no longer waiting for the West to approve them. They are fixing their own house with African hands.
Was Nigeria better under the military rule? It sounds crazy, but some Nigerians genuinely believe that the country was so much better when soldiers were in charge. No zoning, no long grammar, just orders and actions. Were they wrong? From 1966 to 1999, Nigeria was ruled by the military for almost 30 years. No democracy, no elections, just coups, uniforms, and national broadcasts. But guess what? During that period, we built the Third Mainland Bridge, established EFCC, created NYSC, and even had stronger control of oil revenue. But don't romanticize it too much. During the military rule, or rather under the military rule, freedom of speech was dead. Journalists were jailed, people were killed, decrees could end your life overnight. Let's not forget the execution of Ken Saro-Wiwa, or how Abacha looted billions while silencing dissent. Still, many older Nigerians say things worked. Things weren't perfect, but they were stable. There was fear, yes, but also order. And that is why some still whisper, maybe democracy failed us more than the military ever did. So I'm asking you, was Nigeria better under the military rule, or are we just frustrated with democracy?
Let's be honest. In many parts of Africa, democracy has failed us. Democracy kept Paul Biya in power for 43 years, Obiang for 46 years, and Alassane Ouattara for a controversial third term. Is that democracy or dictatorship in disguise?
4 countries are under military dictators. The Gambia, President Adama Barrow is planning a 3rd term. In Côte d'Ivoire, President Alassane Ouattara is planning a 4th term. In Togo, Yasigbe Eyadema is spending his 5th term and planning a 6th term. Frankly speaking, apart from Ghana, and Senegal that hasn't had a military coup since its independence in the 60s. We have a long way to go in putting a constitutional change of government behind us. And from what we have, from the political dictionary now, in Africa, it is no longer when you have a coup that you talk of a constitutional change of government. That is what has just happened in Rivers State.
When soldiers took over in Burkina Faso, people danced in the streets. Why? Because the so-called democratic leaders weren't solving problems. Terrorists controlled the roads. Schools were closed. Farmers were afraid to farm. Then came Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Young, brave, clear, focused. He armed community defense groups, reclaimed highways, and cut down government waste. That's why people support him. Not because he's wearing uniform, but because he's working. When ECOWAS imposed sanctions on these countries, what happened? Prices of fuel and food went up. Borders were shut. The poor suffered. But now Nigeria, the same Nigeria that once backed the sanctions, is saying, let's talk, let's trade, let's move forward. And maybe that's the smart move. Because West Africa needs results, not just rituals. We're not saying all military leaders are saints, but we must ask, who is building roads? Who is fixing schools? Who is protecting the people? That is what leadership should be. Uniform or no uniform. Africa must define its own democracy. If it works for the people, it's legitimate. Share this video. Speak up. Stay informed. Nigeria's invitation to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is a step in the right direction. Not because we support coups, but because we support progress. The West should not choose our path. Our people should. Whether it's a general or a gentleman, Africa must move forward with dignity, with justice, and with African solutions. In the end, leadership is not about elections. It's about service. And in this new chapter, Africa is rewriting the rules. Share this video. Start a conversation in your community. Tell us in the comments, what kind of leadership do you want to see in Africa? This documentary does not endorse military coups or unconstitutional actions. It is an analysis of political developments in West Africa through the lens of performance-based leadership and citizen responses. All views expressed aim to foster discussion and public awareness.